Okay, so how long have you been in business?
Which business?
This business, the current business.
Um, Only about a year.
This is not your first venture into to be an entrepreneur.
No,
I don't know this story.
no.
No, what'd you do first?
So I used to be a news anchor
Right.
for 4 years. Then I became the development director at a nonprofit called The Haven. And then I left The Haven to start No Blues News, which is my
Oh, that's right.
nonprofit.
Okay.
So it's not a for-profit, but that was like what propelled the original leap to leave a full-time job was to start this nonprofit Good News channel. And then very quickly, I mean, I'm sure you're very familiar with Ikigai.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's, what you love, what you're good at,
Yeah.
what the world needs, and what you can be paid for.
Sorry.
And I feel like No Blues News, which is my nonprofit, had everything going except for the money.
All right. What can you be paid?
And I've never done anything for the money. And I'm a firm believer that if you lead with your heart, like the rest will follow. But at the same time, I was getting to the point in my life where I was like, I know my value and I'm starting to really know my worth and know my skill set and what I can do. And I think it's finally time that my income matches that.
Right.
So I was like, what can I do for a business, for-profit business, so that I don't have to necessarily worry about funding No Blues News and I can just keep No Blues News fun and joyful and happy and not just, I didn't want it to become a job. Yeah. It defeats the purpose. It's supposed to be a positive, happy energy. And if I'm ever putting out an episode like, oh, I have to do this and I'm resentful because I'm doing the fundraising and the marketing and the, one-woman show. So when I was at the Haven, I planned our first gala and I emceed it and I made our mission moment video. And it was a super powerful story about these three sisters that all have Down syndrome. And then the mom passed away of breast cancer and the dad lost his job. And yeah, it's like a movie. And then they found the Haven and these girls started to come back to life and the dad had time for himself. And I'm on stage at our first gala while this video is playing and I'm seeing everybody just completely captivated by this story.
Right.
And it's one of those goosebump tears moments. And then the dad and the girls are there and they're crying and they get like a 3-minute standing ovation. And then we did our ask, our paddle raise, and we did like $120,000 in 10 minutes. So I was like, okay, I feel like there's something there, I mean, and we live in the land of galas and they all kind of feel the same to me. And so I just kind of started reaching out to nonprofits saying, do you need somebody to MC and help with your ask and help with kind of like that mission moment, like that storytelling piece, whether it's the video or how can we get a heartfelt testimonial and just being more intentional about weaving the mission into the night. So it's not all just about squeezing money out of people and getting dressed up and
Engaging.
yeah.
Yeah.
And, got a lot of no, we're good. But then I got a yes, and then I got another yes, and then another one, and then another one. And then that's just kind of how it started. And it just started as kind of those two components. And this was October of last year. I did my first one other than the Haven. And so kind of fast forward to now, and the name just totally, it was like a download, just dropped to me one day from the Hark fundraising. Boom, didn't think about it once again.
Wow. Okay. No surveys. No. Yeah.
I'm not a big, I don't really ask a lot of people their opinion before I do something.
Yeah.
Not because I think that I'm smarter. I think that if you tell too many people what's going on and you give too much room for input, it's going to confuse you more. And you got to trust your gut.
You gotta trust your gut, but also so I've been studying this lately. There is a psychological similarity to writing things out and speaking about. Let's say you come up with these grand plans. You're going to start a business, and you're writing down those things, and you speak it to somebody else. The dopamine that you receive, that dopamine hit, is the same as if you actually did it. And so what happens is a lot of people, they'll write out their plans and then not execute. And the reason is they've already got that dopamine hit. Right. So I'm similar. Yeah, I try. I mean, I might tell the team because they got to do the work, but like and then execute.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think mine comes from I'm not somebody who's like, I have to keep it a secret till it's finished because I'm worried someone's going to take it. It's never that. It's more so just, oh, like this is it. And I never look back.
Love it.
And I can always, I think if you wait until you're ready to put out a version of something that's perfect, you're never going to do it.
Yeah, too many people are afraid of, well, if I don't plan everything, I'm gonna fail. But it's gonna sound weird. I don't think I've ever said it out loud. Like I'm excited to fail. I don't want to fail big, but like I'm excited to fail because I know what's gonna happen afterwards. Right? Like I know that I've failed before and I'm gonna figure that out. And the only way a lot of times to learn something is to go through that fire.
Absolutely.
And you fail at something, okay. Now put that arrow on my quiver. Now I know how to solve that in the future. I'm excited for those things. But a lot of people, they're turned off by failure.
Yeah. And I think it's even kind of dangerous to use the word failure for it because if it was a lesson and a learning experience, is it really a failure?
Right. It's more of a lesson.
Yeah. I mean, it might. I've learned a lot recently, I feel like, about being quick to label something as good or bad because you don't know.
You don't know?
In the moment. It's like, have you heard that? It's like an old proverb about this guy whose horse runs away. Have you heard about this?
Guy whose horse runs away, his son goes,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe, right?
Yeah. Like, I'm going to probably butcher it, but this guy loses his horse and someone says, oh, that's terrible. And he says, we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they find the horse and they're like, that's great. And he's like, we'll see. And then the son rides the horse and breaks his leg. And they're like, that's terrible. And he's like, we'll see. And then they come to draft for the military and the son's got a broken leg, so they can't take him. So, I mean, it might sound corny, but I feel like I was so quick to say, oh gosh, this is horrible or this is great. And I don't know, I feel like it's a very stoic concept to just be like, it is, let's just ride with it.
That's right.
Yeah, just ride down. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's important when you own a business because no matter how good the plans are, like you're going to have, when you're a one-woman show or even when you have employees, even when you have thousands of employees, you're going to have this. And there's always going to be ups and downs. So like, yeah, that's a great quality to have.
Yeah. I mean, when I started No Blues News, I mean, back to your point of not being afraid to fail or make mistakes, I thought No Blues News was going to be everything I was doing. And, I was trying to get donations and I started filming it in a studio and I produced everything myself and it was really professional looking. And I put out an episode at the same time every single week, Thursday morning, like 6:00 in the morning. And now I'm traveling for fundraising events all the time. And I do it when I can. It's not every week. It's not the same time every week. I use a virtual background now. The production value's gone down. And, there's been some guilt and shame in that for me of like, oh, did I fail with this?
No.
But my goals just evolved.
It's a question of capacity too at that point. Like your goals evolved, you're chasing something.
And it's going really well.
Really well.
And so
continue to chase that.
Yeah. And I mean, I think just the lack of resistance that there's been with From the Heart fundraising.
Yeah.
It's been pretty amazing.
Yeah, I really, so when we first met and you were telling me what you did, what was really resonating with me is about 3 years ago, I had a friend of mine and she said, I feel like nonprofits they're not able to maximize their fundraising because board members have to work the table and they have to do this and they have to do that. And I feel like there's other areas that like somebody just needs to come in and help board members. And I was like, okay, well, maybe you're onto something, like that's a void in the market, and she was trying to come up with how to actually make it a business and it never went anywhere. And so as you're telling me, not only had you made this business, but the success that you were having, I thought, holy crap, like this idea, like you really solved the puzzle of how to do it and to make it a success. I was like blown away because I could, when I was talking to that person, I was like, oh, maybe. But when you were explaining it, I thought, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. Well, and mine's so different. Like I haven't really found something necessarily like mine that exists because you could find strategic planning where they do board workshops and,
yes,
sure, I could do a workshop with your board on you because I think part of the issue with boards is people on boards don't feel comfortable enough in knowing all the aspects of programs and missions, so therefore they just don't talk about it in public when they're really supposed to be ambassadors and have an elevator pitch. And I think that they're afraid they're going to get asked a question they don't know the answer to, so they just avoid it.
Yep.
So that's something I think I could help with. But this has been another lesson for me too, like in this past year and a half of trying to define what I'm doing and who I'm serving and the solution I'm providing. It's really easy. I'm sure I want to hear about if you've had this struggle too. When you have all these different skill sets from all these different fields and you really could do well at a lot of different things, it's hard to not say yes to everything.
Yes.
Because you're an entrepreneur and you're like, okay, like that's a piece that could bring in money. That's a piece. And I've had to just kind of let a lot of that go. And I still will get a test from the universe of like, hey, can you do this? And it's tempting to be like, yeah.
Take that money.
Yeah. But I've been working on just saying, no, this is what I'm doing and keeping it to that.
Yeah.
And
so I have. Yes, I'm impressed that a year in you're already doing that, because I was probably 5 years in. I'm at year 13. I'm not start counting my toes. Yeah, 13. Probably at least 5 years in, and my mentor talked about, I was complaining to him about like a situation I had with a client, and he was like, that doesn't sound like the type of client you really should work with. Like, making some money, but is it really a good use of your time? And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, well, you need to spend your time where you're most profitable. And he goes, if that means turning down money because it's a better long term, like it's better for you long term for your business, you got to turn that money down.
You're like, turning down money. Yeah, you don't turn down money when you work for yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, in 5 years in, like I'm paying bills, but I'm like, that's money. I want that money, I want the bag. And I committed to it. It probably took a solid 6 to 9 months to where it didn't hurt to turn away business. But there were a couple times where I knew it was a bad fit.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and I'm like, this isn't going to be good, and I would turn it away basically. But the money was like, maybe, it was tough. There was a couple months that was really tough to turn it away. But long term, he was completely right.
Yeah. I'm a firm believer that the universe will throw a distraction at you to see if you're really ready for what you said you were ready for.
Yeah.
And it's so tempting to just grab it sometimes. And that was my year last year. Like I was doing public speaking workshops and I was doing communication coaching and, all kinds of different stuff. Copyright. I was writing freelance articles for Sarasota Scene magazine and just like literally all these different pieces of things that I've been good at. And in a way it was really good because I could kind of figure out, okay, no, I don't want to do that. Or yes, I want to do more of this. And even with the fundraising stuff, like now it's event specific. So, I'm not doing your annual campaign. I'm not, working with your board. I'm not soliciting donations on your behalf. It's event specific. And it makes it really easy now to say yes or no.
So what events do you look for specifically?
Yeah. So some nonprofits will bring us on just for auctioneering. Some will hire for auctioneering and the mission moment video. So I'll give you an example. The Peyton Wright Foundation, they came to me saying, we have a golf tournament every year. We want to create something that includes more women. So we're thinking about a gala, but we don't really know where to start. And that's like perfect for me because I'm not your event planner. I'm not working with your venue and your caterer and your DJ and those pieces. But I say, okay, so, how much money do you want to raise at this gala? What do you want the average guest to be like? Like, what's the profile of your ideal audience? How many people do you think you can have? Okay, what's your sponsorship goal? And then I can help them with a theme. So the Peyton Wright Foundation, they help families of kids with pediatric brain cancer around the country and help